Hey guys, Rocambasco here, and today I tried beating Dead Space 3 without using guns, and holy frickin' moly, I don't want to see any comments saying, actually, you can use so-and-so weapon, like the plasma cutter or the ripper, because technically they're tools, not guns. Ugh, that's so annoying. Anyway, without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So, you all know how the game begins. Or maybe you don't, since most people haven't played this game since 2013. But basically, history lesson, recap, title screen, and we meet Tim. With all that snow, you could almost mistake this game for taking place in my homeland, Canada. But there's a big difference between these two places. This place, which is a planet called Tau Volantis, is ruled by necromorphs, whereas Canada is controlled by communists. Big difference. Within 2 minutes of getting to know this clown, Tim demonstrates what a useless piece of garbage he is, since he can't even break whatever this thing is with melee or kinesis. So within the first minute of the game, before I've even witnessed an enemy, I've had to use a gun and fail the challenge. Alright, cool. Good job, Tim. Other than that, not much happens here. So I slip past the necromorphs, climb the ladder, grab this thing, do some other stuff, and meet my commanding officer. He asked Tim about the single gunshot he heard, and Tim said he had to break the whatever that thing was with his gun. So he shot Tim for being incompetent, he killed himself for being a bad teacher, and now we're in the present, baby. Back in 2008, Turtleman taught me that the present is a gift, but he didn't specify that sometimes that gift comes straight from Satan, so you end up meeting Captain Douchebag. He looks like a douche, his voice sounds douchey.
I understand you're something of an expert on markers. You created one?
No offense to the voice actor. And he looks like his favorite pastime is sucking dicks at Weenie Hut Juniors. Basically, the reason why Captain Robert was here instead of choking on someone's nutsack was because my ex-supplier of Puss Puss had gone missing on a ship in space somewhere, and now they needed my help to save her. So I had to leave the comfort of my... well, I can't even call it a home. I had to leave the comfort of my depression shack and fight off human enemies. Human enemies are the easiest things to deal with in this challenge, because unlike necromorphs, which are pretty straightforward, humans are complex carbon-based organisms and have things like emotions, fears, and sometimes hemorrhoids, so they might do something like climb on a car, only to realize that they have a crippling fear of heights and end up killing themselves because you can't be scared if you're dead. As long as I had cover, fighting the humans were just too easy. So I met Glasses Man. He says that he wants to follow me to the ends of the galaxy just to ruin my future plans. He makes a big boom boom, which releases the necromorphs upon the city, and I escape by falling 5 feet onto a pile of bodies. Somehow that worked, and that brings us to the necromorphs. I thought I had this challenge in the bag, until I realized that stasis lasts for half a second, melee does fuck all, and most objects thrown by kinesis don't do any damage. But also I was throwing a cup, so what do you expect? But I decided once again to just run away. And when I say once again, I'm referring back to when I ran away from the necromorphs in the beginning of the game. Keep in mind, I was playing on impossible mode up until chapter 3 or chapter 4, so that's why melee combat was as bad as it was. But yeah, that's pretty much how the first 2 chapters of the game went, so there's not much to talk about until we reach chapter 3. Except, I do want to mention that I couldn't kill the last 2 guys on the train or run past them since I was on impossible mode, so I turned it down to normal. I just barely got past them. We find safety on our ship, the ship betrays us, I get my first suit, and now we reach the ship that Ellie is stuck on. In terms of combat, kinesis was very inconsistent in this challenge. Sometimes it was really good, and other times my objects would just get stuck on the environment, or I would pick up something completely useless. But things went a lot smoother up here with the necromorphs, since I actually had some heavy things to throw for once. Since I pretty much had to rely on using melee combat 90% of the time, I would rarely get past a fight without taking damage, so I went through medkits like crazy in this playthrough. When I reached the generator room, I realized this challenge was totally impossible to beat on hard and impossible mode. To get past the generator room, you have to kill 6 of these dudes, and they're hard enough to beat on normal, so I threw in the towel, switched to normal difficulty. I finished off the enemies with barely any health. I rode the elevator, and I finally found Ellie. I thought Robert mistook Ellie's face for a penis because he started kissing it without hesitation. But then I realized they were kissing each other. They were boyfriend and girlfriend. I couldn't let this slide, so I devised a 3-step plan for getting revenge on Ellie the whore and Robert the douchebag. Step 1. Make Robert be my boyfriend using seductive techniques to make Ellie feel jealous. Step 2. Kill Robert so he isn't a problem anymore. Step 3. Make Ellie fall in love with me once again, and then fake my death at the end of the game so she has to go through even more pain. It was short, simple, and psychopathic. So anyway, Ellie says that the answer to destroying the markers is in the captain's office, so I fought my way through some necromorphs, struggled to figure out how this minigame worked. I made it to the captain's office, I deciphered some shit, we figured out that the snowy planet is the marker homeworld, so now we had to go down there to permanently seal the planet's birth canal. So I slapped Ellie's titties, took a ride through space, and arrived in Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is where I would find my most important asset in the challenge, because at this point, I was fed up with necromorphs using my throat blood to lubricate the boned swords that grew out of their hands. But bam! It was here that I found the hydraulic engine. The words hydraulic and engine are just fancy talk to make this gadget sound more sophisticated than it is, but it's actually just a knife with neon on the blade. And boy, you better believe a knife is more effective at melee combat than my shitty hands and feet are. I was ready to fight anything and everything now, but then I stumbled across my first guardian in the challenge. You might not know this, but if you get too close to a guardian, they instantly decapitate you with their penis, but as long as you have something to throw at them, you can easily kill them. Not to mention there's only about 2 or 3 of these guys in the entire game, so they're not even a problem. After that, I clear the track so I can use the tram system. I accidentally free the invincible necromorph, and now I had to spend the rest of the chapter running around and fighting the invincible boy while I fixed parts of the ship. So I gathered all 3 parts of the important thing, I crafted the important thing at a bench, I got ass blasted before I had a chance to clench my cheeks, I put that thing in here, I launched a rocket for some reason, the invincible boy started chasing me again. He gave me a speedrun treatment of the African neck stretching tradition, and now we reached the end of the sequence, which is also the first fail of the challenge. You have to use the big guns to destroy debris that flies into the spinny things, and it's inevitable that you're gonna shoot enemies while you're doing this. Even if you just sit there and do nothing, they end up killing you every time. So yeah, fail number 1 is totally unavoidable. Well, maybe there is a way to get around it, but I haven't figured that out. So I fuck up the ship, I get sucked into space, I grab some navigation modules, Penis Breath says hi to me, and I enact phase 1 of my plan. I successfully seduced Robert by sucking him off in front of Santos and Buckle, so he was my boyfriend now. Ellie was sure to be jealous. I took the driver's seat, we made our way to the planet down below, and this part is actually really easy. Normally, you have to shoot the mines, but since I have my driver's license, I'm pretty much an ace pilot now, so I dodge everything with ease. Eventually, I get killed by everything, but that's okay, because you get full health when you respawn at the last checkpoint, so it's literally impossible to fail at this part. We make it to the planet, some jackass left a rock sticking out of the side of the planet, so we crash. Ellie decides it would be better to split up to cover more ground, so she fucks off, and now it's time for Chapter 8. I had to spend this chapter looking for a snowsuit, because I wasn't interested in resembling the frozen chicken fingers that dwell within my freezer. Anyway, I made my way to the snowsuit place, I found Buckle, He resembled the frozen chicken fingers that dwell within my freezer. He said he was too fat to fit into a snowsuit, so he died, and then I caught my first glimpse of the creepiest little anorexic bastards in the challenge. The creepy little anorexic bastards. These guys use swarm tactics, because what else are you supposed to do when your biceps are less girthy than a chipmunk's penis? They can really do a number on my health, but also since there's a lot of them, I get a lot of health in return. So not much to say about these guys, other than just to go ham on them. I do some more tricky puzzles, I get the snowsuit, fought some snowy boys, and just when I thought I would get through a video without making a Harry Potter or anime reference, Isaac talked about Code Geass for some reason.
Rickety piece of shit.
Can't say I disagree, Mr. Clark. So I reunite with my teammates, and now I crafted Mjolnir. Sadly, it's not the real one, but it does come with an improved hydraulic engine. Not to mention I pimped it out with circuits, so now it was the second most powerful thing on the planet. The first being my hatred for Ellie. But 2 seconds later, I now had to fight the actual most powerful thing on the planet, a giant necromorph boss. I don't know its name, so it's only fitting that I call it Jormungandr. If you get too close to Jormungandr, you take massive damage, and not to mention his tentacles are on his back, and there's no way I can reach them with melee. There's also nothing to throw with kinesis, so sadly, I had no choice but to use guns to fight this thing with, so this is fail number 2. Or maybe fail number 3, I've kinda lost count. After that, I met up with everyone again. My boyfriend and I almost had our first kiss, but Ellie ruined it because she's jealous. Oh well, I was just happy to see that Ellie was suffering, and that brings us to chapter 10. Honestly, not much happens in chapter 10. I had to fight a bunch of humans for the first time since chapter 1, but now that I had my one-shot weapon, a ton of health, and they were distracted by the necromorphs, this whole chapter was a cakewalk. Except of course when I had to kill a drill, which is another fail. I tried using kinesis, but for some reason, it just never seems to work, so I had to shoot it in order to get past this part, and once I do, I step foot into chapter 11. And don't worry, the next few chapters are just as disastrous as I could have imagined, but before we talk about that, you should definitely consider leaving a like, a comment, and subscribing. First of all, Santos told me that I had to scavenge parts of a science gun to do scientific things. Not entirely sure why we needed it, since I wasn't paying attention to the story that much, but I went to get it nevertheless. So I went to get it, I watched an instructional video on how to kill myself, and that's when I had to fight the Velociraptor necromorphs. These guys were the reason I never wanted to continue playing Dead Space 2 back in the day, but since the only thing that scares me now is inflation and taxes, these guys are pretty easy to deal with. Just hit them with stasis, melee them once, and use their hands as bullets. But this would be the last time I would get to show anyone in this part of town who's boss, because once I retrieved the pieces of the gun, I had to fight Jormungandr once again. Honestly, nothing new here, so this is fail number 5. And once again, he runs away once I beat his ass, so it's only a matter of time before I reach fail number 6. I crafted the gun, I returned to Santos, and now we're in chapter 12. The name of this chapter is called Autopsy, so at first I was thrilled, because autopsies are performed without guns, and by medical professionals, so it may seem like Isaac can sit this one out since he's an engineer, but as you can see, I'm descending down an elevator into a gargantuan necromorph corpse, because Isaac has to do literally everything around here, and everything he does with a gun. So I had to perform the autopsy with a gun, which is yet another fail. Fail number 6. I fought off some more anorexic dudes. My boyfriend and I have our first fight, so he locks me in this cage like cattle, but one Tata key and a crank of this lever later, I was a free man. That is, until Glasses Man decides that being cattle suits me. It's just like he said back in chapter 1. He followed me to the end of the galaxy just to ruin my plans, so now he's gonna kill my boyfriend. But that's not part of my 3-step plan, so one thing leads to another, and now I had to fight a giant necromorph boss. But how the fuck am I supposed to damage it with melee when I'm the size of one of its sperms? And once again, kinesis is butt fucking useless, so once again, we have another fail. fail number 7. So I shoot it in the yellow, it eats me, I kill all of the whatever the hell these things are, it spits me back out, it died since I killed all of the whatever the hell those things were, and my boyfriend and I have another fight. I'm getting real sick of these petty arguments, so now I enact step 2 of my 3-step plan. There was only one more step left, and then Ellie would finally feel my pain. Carver and I become best friends. I told Ellie that I shot Robert, but she didn't seem sad enough. Damn it, why isn't it working? I figured she must be in denial, so I gave her Robert's head as proof, but again, she didn't seem fazed by it. In fact, Santos seemed more upset than Ellie, so I climbed the mountain, fought some dudes, and 15 minutes later, Ellie forgave me. I was upset that she wasn't going through more pain, but she was already falling in love with me again, so step 3 was well on its way to being achieved. The mountain was too dangerous for everyone to climb, so I volunteered to get the elevator working. Eventually, we all got to the top of the mountain, but Santos was pouting and being, overall, very unpleasant. Then she said she wanted some solid ground beneath her feet, which was a poor choice of words. Carver hadn't forgiven her for throwing snow in his face, so he didn't hesitate before making her wish come true. But oh no, she must have been Buddhist, because she reincarnated as a giant necromorph right at that moment and decided to kill us all, and now I had to fight Yermungandr one last time. In this fight, all you have to do is get Yermungandr to walk into the giant harpoons, and then use kinesis to rip it in half, so not much to say about this whole encounter. I reunite with everyone. Well, everyone except for Santos. The pieces of step 3 keep falling into place, a crappy ladder cuts our reunion short, and now we're in chapter 14. I feel like a broken record at this point, but not much happened in this chapter, but it did feel like the longest chapter since I struggled on the many puzzles and other annoyances here. Like, why did I have to do this for 5 minutes? Fucking bullshit. I did get introduced to the fast necromorphs in this chapter, but they're pretty straightforward. Every other moment of this chapter was spent killing necromorphs to find the pieces of this frozen alien dude called Rosetta, which leads to us learning how to stop the necromorphs once and for all. All we have to do is find an alien machine in the planet and use it to destroy the moon because it's evil. Easy peasy. But god damn it, Glasses Man is here to ruin my plans once again. He almost succeeded, but I forgot Ellie was a black belt in swoop jitsu, so she very calmly swooped this man to his death and saved the day. Glasses Man escapes, but Ellie isn't so lucky.
Come on! Ellie!
It's no good. It's moving too fast. Isaac, do it. Just do it. Isaac! I love you.
Yeah. Like that's ever gonna happen.
My 3-step plan may have been ruined, but at least I still had Carver. He was way cuter than Ellie anyway, so I let go of my hatred for Ellie and decided to move on with my life and get married to Carver after we destroy the moon and save the galaxy. So I fought my way through more necromorphs, I evicted the humans' red blood cells from their bodies, and now there's the whole part where you descend down the elevator shaft and enter the alien city. But for most of this whole sequence, I sped past everything that was trying to kill me, except for this wizard, who had better things to do than die. I asked him if he wanted to come to Carver's and I's wedding, but he kept ignoring me, so I proceeded into hell, he abracadabraed out of there, and before I knew it, we were in the endgame. The alien city is pretty boring, and there's not much we haven't already seen in these next 2 chapters. Fix stuff, break stuff, kill some necromorphs, kill some humans, and from what I remember, I only had to fight the alien necromorphs once or twice, and they go down in only a few chops, so they were annoying, but with enough health, I could get through any amount of these dudes. I fix the alien machine, make my way to the top, and holy shit, it's Ellie. Glasses Man wants to trade, but I used to trade Pokemon cards a lot as a kid, so I know a bad deal when I see one. Trading Ellie for the Codex was like trading a Snorlax for an Arceus. Who in their right mind would ever give up their Snorlax? But Carver was ignorant, so we get ripped off, Glasses Man deep throats a Geodude, I resumed the final step of my 3-step plan, and now Carver and I have one more loose end to tie up. And this is where I encounter fail number 8, because I didn't have enough time to kill the tentacle things with kinesis. Maybe I would have if I tried harder, but at this point, I just didn't care anymore. So I shot the tentacle dudes, and now it's time for the final boss fight. And surprise surprise, you can't kill him with kinesis or melee. It kinda speaks for itself, so I'm not even gonna go into detail here. I kill it, Isaac fakes his death, and my 3-step plan is finally complete. What the heck? I was expecting that whore to be sobbing, but her face is completely dry. I've seen people look more depressed just from failing a math test, but this bitch's face has 0% moisture. Not to mention, she just fucks off after, what, 30 seconds? Isaac could have just been unconscious, but nah, she doesn't have time for that. In the end, Isaac's 3-step genius plan failed because he forgot to factor in one thing, that Ellie is a bitch. So can you beat Dead Space 3 without guns? Hell no you can't.